Enjoy the world and all its terrors? Interested to learn more about unexplained entities and dark legends from across the globe? Join myself and Dr. Sophie Yang as we share horrors, fears, and taboos from her home in Taiwan and discuss the similarities and differences between what scares souls in the East and West. Learn about what haunts the Taiwanese mountains, what comes for you in death, and much more. Check out That Scares Me Too, available now. That's 2, like boo.
Greetings, adventurers. Today we're excited to introduce you to a new story, Dark Dice, a horror podcast that blurs the line between actual play and audio drama, where the story is determined by the roll of the dice. 6 adventurers embark on a journey into the ruinous domain of the Nameless God. They will never be the same again. One of the players is not what they seem after a doppelganger, a creature that can assume the form and voice of whatever it kills, infiltrates the team. As the players are picked off and replaced one at a time, can they figure out who the monster is before it's too late? Can you? Here's a quick example of what our show sounds like.
The shambler with the jar of liquid inside of him.
Soren Arkwright let loose an arrow that cracked the glass, passing through the spine of the creature. The shambler still managed to maintain its forward momentum, but stumbled as it eagerly tried to bite and swipe at Soren, landing near his feet.
As Jeff Goldblum has now joined our cast, Dark Dice is available however you listen to podcasts.
In 2005, 2 brothers hit the road to fight monsters. That road has led them to fighting demons, angels, and saving the world.
It's a journey that is taking them to heaven, hell, and back. But they aren't done.
Join our journey as we go episode by episode, following the adventures of Sam and Dean Winchester. We break each episode down with the writers, producers, directors, crew, and actors to bring you the behind-the-scenes stories of how this legendary TV series was made. That guy right there, that's Rob Benedict. He played God and Chuck Shirley.
Hey, and that guy there, that's Richard Spade Jr. He played Gabriel, Loki, and the Trickster. And P.S., he directed a bunch of episodes, too.
Now, while we are insiders, we're also outsiders, because we're not experts. This is our first time watching the entire series, all 327 episodes.
Rich and I have met many of the fans at conventions around the world, and we are deepening our understanding of why you all love this series so much. Because it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Now, listen. There will be spoilers, so consider yourself warned.
And thank you for joining us on this trip we call Supernatural Then and Now. Well, hey, everybody, I'm Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate Jr.
And we are talking about Season 6, Episode 18, Frontierland. But really what we're talking about is there's fires all over Los Angeles right now.
There are. L.A. is literally ablaze. It's so crazy. Even, by the way, Rob, you don't even know this, even Matt Cohen had to cancel his movie shoot today.
I assumed. I reached out last night. Yeah, so we hope everyone in the Los Angeles area is safe. This comes out in a couple of weeks, so we're not sure what the state will be, but right now it doesn't look great.
It's not great, but I tell you what, whenever this comes out, there will have been a lot of damage in Southern California. So if you are able to go to your Red Cross website or any sort of charitable organization that's helping families displaced by the fire, damaged by the fire, injured by the fire, please do so.
And all of our thoughts and prayers are going out to not only the people affected, but the first responders who are working their tails off.
Man. And they're not California first responders. They're from all over the country and the world. They come from everywhere. So thank you.
They're just good people.
To everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, we thought, you know what? We can't do anything else right now, so we're going to get our mind off of it. So we said, let's go back to the Wild Wild West and talk about episode 18. Before we do, just to let you know, after this episode, there are only 4 episodes left on season 6.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. Man, at the recap of this episode, I was like, it's too much. I'm so confused just by the recap. Because it was like so much stuff. Remember, they go back in time.
I know.
Remember, this person died and this person's affected, and don't worry about this guy. But I was like, who are all these people?
What is going on?
Anyway, but join us here for all the action and follow us on Instagram. But you can also be in the know and be on our A-team if you follow us and join us on Patreon, which is like the fan club.
Robert, why don't you do what you do even in the face of adversity? and I've seen you do this many, many times. It's not like every road is paved, buddy. We've been down some rocky ones, and yet you always are able to get it together enough for a moment to at least, in that instance, summarize.
Sam, Bobby, and Dean are able to find the Campbell family's secret hunter library.
Because, you know, every hunter's got a secret library.
That's right. It wasn't that big of a library, pretty small library.
I got the sense from hanging out with the Campbells for a minute, they weren't big readers. You know, I didn't get the curl up with a good book vibe off the Campbell family.
No, I didn't get any good vibes from the Campbell family.
No.
They searched the library for a way to defeat Eve, remember she's mother, and find a mention of mother.
You know, Defeat and Eve dated, the celebrity couple name would be Defeeve.
So they're looking for a mention of mother that can be burned by phoenix ashes. Dean finds Samuel.
And then you have to ask the question, okay, fine. That makes sense in the supernatural pantheon.
Right.
You got phoenix ashes.
Right.
But are we talking Joaquin?
Right.
River? Rain?
Right.
Summer?
Right.
Like which
Right.
Phoenix?
Autumn.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. I'm going to go with autumn.
You go Autumn Phoenix? Is there an Autumn Phoenix?
Winter? No, I'm just making it up because you were saying that it's different seasons.
That's their names.
I know. I'm yes.
And then if you don't find a Phoenix, would an Affleck work? You know what I mean?
There you go. Boom.
The ashes of a Casey
And
Affleck?
scene. Dean finds Samuel Colt's. That's right. There's another Samuel.
Yeah, because we don't have enough of them.
Dean finds Samuel Colt's journal, which has an entry about shooting a phoenix in Sunrise, Wyoming, and it turns into a pile of ash. The phoenix does. So Dean is very enthusiastic about the opportunity to go back in time to the Old West to retrieve the ashes so that they can foil Eve and her plans.
Aren't we glad it didn't fall into some sort of pit? Because then they would be forced to go find the ash hole.
Oh, man. Dean prays to Castiel to arrive so they can ask him to transport them back in time to 1861. However, Rachel, one of Castiel's angelic lieutenants, appears.
Let me ask you this, Rob. Were you worried that you might have sprained an eyebrow when they raised up at the appearance of Rachel? I would love to have been a fly on the wall to watch you perk right up in your Barker lounger.
Who's this now? But I can tell you this. Castiel has the cloak. Most angels have the suits.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Angel's like in a casual jean number. I was like, what was she and what was the person that the vessel for her? Like a
hot soccer mom? I don't know.
Hot soccer mom, exactly.
I don't know, man. It's like, but I just know that she had Benedict written all over her.
Well, Rachel tells them that Castiel is too busy fighting a war in heaven to deal with them.
And might I say, as soon as she said that, Castiel's too busy, I thought to myself, no problem. This'll do nicely, thank you. Nice break from the trench coat guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just would have been nice if she's in a pantsuit. It didn't feel.
So your problem wasn't the character, it was the wardrobe.
It was the wardrobe.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so she says that Castiel's too busy in heaven fighting a war to deal with their petty little requests. But suddenly Castiel appears and they convince him to send them back in time. Sam and Dean arrive in 1861, Sunrise, Wyoming. Dean has attempted to dress period appropriate, but his serape misses the mark.
Serape is just one part of him that misses the mark.
Yeah.
Literally, I've never seen less effort put into making somebody look like they belong in a time period than.
I know, but it was good. That was actually really good costuming. I thought they really made Jensen Ackles of all people look uncool.
Look like a dork.
And how about I'm sure we'll talk about this, but how about Jared and the Walker mention?
Walker, Texas Ranger.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. That was really funny.
Yeah. Dean has attempted to dress period appropriate, but he misses the mark. So as they walk into town, they see a man, Elias Finch, is being hung for the murder of his wife. After Elias is put to death, the brothers follow the sheriff back to the jailhouse. They question him about Samuel Colt.
And did you realize, like, at any point did you pause when they got into that area and you thought, oh, wow, they're in the jailhouse now. They're in the jailhouse now.
I mean, that's really on the nose. So on the nose, it's not funny, but I know where you're going.
It was funny enough to watch you just kind of be annoyed by it. Like, so people don't get to see what I see. But if they saw that, they'd go, oh, nailed it.
I did see a rock inside the jailhouse, and I was like, oh, jailhouse rock.
See, that's funny. And I'm man enough to laugh at it.
So they questioned the sheriff about Samuel Colt, but he barely knows Samuel Colt. And he sends them to talk to the saloon owner, Mr. Elkins. Elkins tells the boys that Samuel Colt is building some kind of railroad stop outside of town.
Oh.
AKA the Devil's Gate. So yeah, at some point, Dean says that Jared's name is Walker and he's a Texas Ranger. I
remember that. He goes, I'm Clint Eastwood and this is Walker, Texas Ranger.
I mean, it's great.
And by the way, he's building the Devil's Gate, but my understanding is there was a bit of a scandal about the financing of the Devil's Gate. So a lot of whispering about town about Devil's Gate Gate.
Devil's Gate. I was like, where's he going to go? It's a Watergate, Gate.
Devil's Gate.
Disease-mouthed saloon girl hits on Dean.
By the way, I read for that.
Tuesday night for Rich.
And they said I was too diseased.
However, she had a previous appointment set with the judge and heads upstairs. The Old West isn't as fun as Dean imagined. Suddenly,
Nope.
They hear a scream from the saloon girl and rush upstairs. The judge has been burned to ashes, and she swears it was the ghost of Elias Finch, the man who was hung earlier.
I can't remember. Did anybody go up there and put their hand on the judge's ash?
There'll be an asshole. Dean goes to look for Finch. Sam heads out of town to try and find Samuel Colt and the Colt. Back in the present, Castiel is confronted by Rachel. She asks if his dirty little secret is true. They fight. Rachel dies, but Castiel gets injured, perhaps too injured to bring the boys back from the past.
Here's my question. How did Sam, there's so many Sams, how did Sam, our Sam, get out to find Samuel and the Colt? Is there any chance that he rode a Colt? Could it be Sam on a Colt goes to find Sam and the Colt?
It could be.
You know what I mean?
A lot of Sams, a lot of Colts. What if he's a Colts fan?
Colt fan, but he's out there so long, and all he does is hang out with Sam and other people who like Sam, and it begins to feel a little cultish. You know what I mean? Like it's like maybe there's a Sam Colt cult, and that Sam has to drive his Colt to the cult to be a part of the Sam Colt cult.
Well, God forbid he's riding on a baby horse. Colt.
Well, he would just be walking over it. I think he's so tall.
I thought it was funny when Sam was going off on the horse and Dean's like, that poor horse.
Yeah.
The next day, the sheriff is found dead. Dean is made sheriff, and he locks up the deputy to use as bait. Elias, the possible Phoenix, seems to be tracking down people who hung him. Elias arrives at the jailhouse to kill the deputy, who's behind iron bars.
Yeah.
However, a Phoenix is powerless against iron, like many monsters. Elias explains that the deputy assaulted and killed Elias's wife and shot them both. However, Phoenixes don't die. Elias grabs a sidearm and shoots the deputy in the jail cell. No one was sad about that.
Nope.
Dean escapes. Back in the present, Castiel must touch Bobby's soul in order to energize himself enough to bring the boys back.
Right.
It's like a dangerous prospect.
I bet Bobby was relieved that what Misha needed to do is touch his soul and not touch his S-hole.
Jeez. You're welcome, everybody. Sam finally arrives with the Colt.
Wait, the small horse?
Which thing? Yeah, which one? Dean takes it and challenges the Phoenix to a showdown at high noon. He wins, but before they can retrieve the ashes, Castiel has transported them back to the present. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. A courier has a package for Sam Winchester that has been sitting in their office since the 1860s. It is from Samuel Colt, and it is a bottle of the Phoenix's ashes.
Yes, Sam Winchester, he's really excited to get his hands on that young man's package.
Oh, man. Well, believable, maybe not. Enjoyable, yes. Well, here's the thing about this episode.
What?
For me is when I first started, like I said, the intro, the prequel, the wrap up, I was so confused. In the beginning of it, I was like, it's been a while since I've watched the show.
Yep.
We had a little break over the holiday, and it took me a second to sort of go like, okay. But by the end of it, I was like completely into it, man. I was completely like enjoying it, and it was fun to be in that world. I do have to say that like the WB quality of the show that we don't normally see with the show was more evident with the Wild Wild West.
Yep.
The Wild West made it look like Gunsmoke or something. It felt very...
Yeah, I don't know. I agree, and I'm not sure what transpired. I will say, I continue to say this, and this is, I got to hurt somebody's feelings here, which is obnoxious, but I keep thinking they write Dean dumb in ways that he wasn't, that was not present in other seasons, where like he keeps making
dumb jokes,
weird, dumb sexual jokes that seem frat boyish. I don't know, man. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. I do. No, I do.
There's a joke he makes. Oh yeah, I like Posse or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man,
I'm so surprised that got through.
That's the kind of crap we say on this podcast, but not on the Supernatural.
Exactly. Let us make the ashhole joke.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps bumping for me, and that's kind of an overreaching. I don't know.
I agree.
I definitely think that they decided to make the dumb Dean down a bit this season, and I'm not sure why.
Well, even Sam doesn't seem to know how to react when Dean is that dumb. You know what I mean? It throws the whole balance off. Yeah, I was thrown by it not being actually the Wild West. I understood that we're supposed to go back and not seem like it is on TV, but it actually looked very much like TV Wild West. And also the Vancouver weather was hilarious. Like there, you could see people's breath in the present. And you're like, okay, it's raining in 2011, and then back in the Wild Wild West, you can also see people's breath. Like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There's a scene with like the bartender or somebody where you can see the breath coming out of his mouth.
So among things, so in the stylized episodes of Supernatural that have come before this one, we have seen the film noir Dracula episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sitcom where they leaned into doing the sitcom in Changing Channels.
Uh-huh.
I felt like this was the least committed to a time change or style change that I've seen.
Yeah, it just didn't. I don't know if it's because it's in Vancouver.
Well, I think it's probably hard. I mean, like, look, here's where one of the limitations. This TV show is not going to suddenly have a ton more money, and shooting in a Western town, you can't afford all the horses and carriages and the things that would fill out a Western.
But it was even too bright. It was too bright in the past. I just like I don't know. I thought the writing was good, and I liked the idea that Wild Wild West is not what Dean thinks it is, right? And they should look really out of place. And
right.
But the whole thing should have been dark. It should have been dark in the Wild Wild West. You know what I mean? And it felt very bright. And like I said, it looked like
and I just gotta. I agree with you, and I'm assuming it's a limitations thing. We can talk to when we get to our interview portion of this program.
Mm-hmm.
We'll discuss that. But I wondered, like, just wardrobe wise, it's a period piece wardrobes. It's more challenging to get those as dirty as you think they'd be, or whatever. Man, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm being nitpicky, but it didn't quite.
Well, yeah, I agree. And the overall arc of season 6 is there's just too much going on. I honestly, I don't like. Mother has been kind of not the big concern, and you know what I mean. Now, rushing to finish the season and bring Mother back into it.
Let me ask you this, Rob. Didn't you kind of feel bad for the Phoenix? The Phoenix was like, I was living outside of town doing nothing, minding my own business, and these three jerks came and killed. Actually didn't kill his wife. Like. Sounds like they had their way with his wife, and then killed her.
Yeah, that was
when they got busted.
No.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I kind of thought Dean, not knowing this episode, I kind of thought Dean would be like, well, you're right. I'll leave you be, and somehow get what he needed in a different way. Like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you blah blah blah, or something. And I don't know. I was surprised that Dean's like, yeah, I still got to kill you. Dude didn't even do anything wrong. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. It felt bad for Phoenix. And while we're at it, I feel bad for Tempe. But no, I did.
Man, I love when you show up. For the kids at home, there's no script. Rob just pulled that one out. That's a geography joke. It's smart. It's regional and also global. A lot of kids going, I don't know what Tempe is, but they look it up. They're going to laugh later. It's got legs.
But yeah.
But Tempe.
At the end of the day, it's a fun show. Even the not as great episodes are fun.
Yeah, I just felt bad for Phoenix.
But yeah, season 6 has not been my fave.
No.
But I think it'll find its legs again at some point.
I know there's a lot of like quirky, stylized episodes.
Yeah. They're all packed together, Oh
yeah. Well,
what it's time for our
I know we got to do this, so I guess I'll do my thing here. Rob and Rich ratings.
I feel like you liked it less than me.
Okay, I want to go on record as saying I think the situation we all find ourselves in with I might have been a little distracted watching it with the fires roaring around us and texts from friends. It wasn't the most focused I've been on an episode. So I'll say that out of the gate.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because much was going on in the world.
Right.
Gosh, JC has so many friends in Malibu whose house is just burned, and she'd be getting a photo, ding, oh my God, their house is gone, right. And some of our good friends in Altadena. Right. So I was distracted. First, I'll say that.
Right.
But I don't think it's the character that I have come to like for 5 seasons.
Yeah.
I think the jokes are beneath him. And I think overall, like I said, when they did this film noir, they just nailed it. French Mistake just nailed it. I feel like, this was maybe too big a bite to take off the sandwich. I don't know. Trying to get the West to feel like the Old West. To your point, dude, it still felt like Supernatural in a Western town, not a Western.
Yeah, and again, the show sets the bar pretty high.
Impossibly high bar.
For TV, it's pretty low budget. But because of what Surge's magic and the good writing and acting and everything, the show looks more expensive than it actually is.
Of course, and I'll tell you this. It's not like any ball was dropped. You know what I mean?
Right. No.
I kind of feel like it's one of those episodes where it's good, 100% good, but just misses the mark of being a classic.
Yeah. And it's episode 18. I mean, at this late in the season, I just feel like it's late to have a standalone, like you say, like one of these special episodes where they change the style of it. Even the titles are different.
That part I dug. I mean, I did like the.
You like the gun smoke.
Yeah, the I was thinking Bonanza, but yeah, whatever it was that.
Yeah. It's just late in the season to do one of those kind of episodes, I think.
Yeah.
But like I said, at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. I thought the guy who played the Phoenix was great.
Yeah, me too. And felt very of the time.
Everybody did.
The sheriff and everybody, and the prostitute lady was really funny.
Yeah. You know what else was really good? Samuel Colt was good.
Samuel Colt was good. And who is that actor? That's the guy I feel like I've seen a lot as a character actor.
He looked very familiar.
Well, we gotta land on a facial hair configuration here, my friend.
I've got one.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Ben Affleck.
Okay, which Ben Affleck are we going with?
Divorced Ben Affleck.
Okay.
The Ben Affleck you see at the gas station, paparazzi shot. But
I've got 2 Oscars and still I'm pumping my own gas. Ben Affleck.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm unshaven. But at the end of the day,
Ben Affleck.
I love a good Ben. Yeah, it's Ben Affleck.
Yeah, he's like, I may be not looking my best, but I got 2 Oscars in my back pocket, and I'm Ben Affleck.
I'm still Ben Affleck. Yeah,
I'm 6'3".
They're writing me dumber than I am, but I'm still Ben Affleck.
But I'm a better director than you are. Whoever is taking this photo. Well, exactly. I'm going to go with Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday from Tombstone.
Yeah,
he has a dapper mustache.
It's like a twirly.
He's got the curled up sort of Raleigh Fingers-esque sort of styled mustache. Great looking mustache of the time, but also probably very highbrow for its day. Stood out, was a very much a unique feature for Doc Holliday, but not a full beard. It was, had a lot that was interesting and charming and lovely. And you kind of looked at it and said, wow, that's cool. But you didn't walk away going, that man had a beard, because he didn't.
Yeah.
He had a stylish mustache. Yeah.
Great movie, too, by the way, kids.
Tombstone? It's great.
All right. Very good. Well, I know the person we're interviewing is probably waiting for us in the
and I can't wait to there's so much to unravel here. So this is going to be great.
Well, our guest today is Guy Norman B., the director. He's always been a friend of ours, and he's been on the podcast before, and we're thrilled that the fans are getting to know him from his repeat appearances. Guy directed 11 episodes of Supernatural.
That's a lot. That would put him up among the most, I would imagine.
Yeah. How many did you do?
11.
There you go. He's tied with you. Wow. You had to do a race to the finish. Tiebreaker.
Hold on a second. While we have this, let's see. I can tell you right now. So Bob Singer directed 48 episods. Phil Segresha directed 45. Showalter directed 26. Nice show. Nice going, Showalter. Thomas J. Wright directed 18. Kim Manners directed 17. Charles Beeson, the late great Charles Beeson, also the late great Kim Manners, but the late great Charles Beeson directed 14 episodes. And then Guy Norman B. and Richard Speight Jr. tied at 11.
Wow, good. That's good company right there.
3, 4, 5, 6. So Guy and I directed the 7th most. That's a lot of episodes he directed.
Wow,
big impact on the show.
Yeah. Well, and just because of alphabetical, we're going to put him above you. But
of course, who wouldn't?
Because your name starts with an S and his name starts with a B.
B.
All right, everybody. This is our conversation with Guy Norman B.
My gosh.
Here we have it.
Robert, look who it is.
He's here.
Back for more abuse.
Wait a minute. Are we abusing you, or is this like Rob and you abusing me? Like, we could mix this up any way we want to,
A little bit. No, just kidding. This is always fun. And what it did is it forced me to rewatch Frontierland last night.
Yeah.
Which original title Gallows Pole. Which is a Led Zeppelin song. So I love that.
Oh, dude, I like that title better.
Well, there's a line in it where Jim Beaver's character says, time to go pick up the boys in Frontierland.
Right.
And I don't know if they changed it after we shot it or while we were shooting. I can't remember, but yeah, I was a little bummed. But Frontierland's funnier because it's a Disneyland, Disney World reference.
Right.
And the joke, but because the show it leans so heavily on classic rock titles, it's more on brand to go with Gallows Pole.
Yeah. Well, I got to direct an episode coming up called Stairway to Heaven. So I figured out, I got.
Yeah, you got your comeuppance. So we did a little math before we brought you on here. You did the 7th most episodes of Supernatural as the director.
Wow. And I didn't even do any in the last 9 seasons or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you weren't that far. Let's see what the gap was. If you had done 3 more, you would have tied Charles Beeson.
You know, I don't know. Regime changes and people get busy on other things, and you don't get invited back for one reason or another. Or who knows? Whatever.
Well, it is weird because as we go through, obviously we know you personally, and I've worked with you on other things too. But I don't know all the directors. And going through, you'll see several directors who are consistently part of like seasons 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And then you never see them again. And I don't think it's. My assumption has never been that they got the axe. It was, they became a producing director on a different show, and then they went off with that troupe. You know what I mean? Like, because I kind of feel like out of sight, out of mind sometimes.
Yeah.
You go off to other things, and then you're just not, somebody else steps in, and now somebody else is doing it,
Yeah, or in my case, from Asylum to Family Matters, a 5-year gap, they call, I'm not available, they call, I'm not available, and then you just call it, kind of fall off their radar.
Right.
And then I changed agents for season 6, and my new agent called up Bob Singer, who had a great relationship with us, and said, hey, I just took on Guy, and they go, oh, we love Guy. I remember him from first season 1, and you get back in the fold. So it ebbs and flows, and I never have ever taken that personally.
Yeah, same happens on the actor end too with things. So how excited was everyone? What was the feeling that you were going to be able to go in and make a Western?
They were stoked. I mean, I just remember, that the who was going to get to ride a horse was a big thing, and what are we going to wear? And of course, Jim Beaver was bummed more than anybody because he had done Deadwood and he'd done all these Western things.
Yeah,
and he never really left his house. He never went back to the Old West.
Right.
The boys did.
Right.
So that was kind of the inside joke, is the one guy that, had done Westerns before, and it was like his acumen was as high as anything. Yeah. But, we also got 2 boys from Texas who grew up in that world. So everybody was very excited. Yeah. And they said this is going to be a big fan favorite because the fans have been talking about doing a Western for all these years, 5-6 seasons. So it fell in my lap.
It's interesting. He makes a Deadwood reference. Jim makes a Deadwood reference in it.
Yeah.
And also interesting that there's a Walker, Texas Ranger reference long before Jared, mounted that horse.
Yeah, the writing team predicted the future, literally.
Yeah.
I know, I watched that last night. It's super funny.
Yeah, there's some really funny bits. Okay, guys, hold on. We're coming right back.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. 2 guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, we're 2 dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.
Homicide Detective Brian Clauser is losing his mind. How else to explain the dreams he keeps having? Dreams that mirror, with impossible accuracy, the gruesome serial murders taking place all over San Francisco. And the feelings he gets from those dreams. Not disgust, not horror, but rather excitement. Nocturnal, by #1 New York Times bestselling novelist Scott Sigler, is a complete season with 45 episodes, available for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. And now back to the episode.
So here's my question. Since you mentioned that it was foretold that it would be a fan favorite, how was it received in real time?
Good. I mean, I remember it was right about the time when, 2011. So it was right about the time when all the social media started really latching onto like spoiler alert. And I had to be very careful because I did take some pictures and I did send some stuff via the Facebooks and the Twitters and I don't know, maybe Instagram. But I made sure to manipulate it enough with my cheap version of Photoshop where some kind of publication couldn't use it and say, oh, the Supernatural guys are going back to the Old West. Because the super fans knew it just from having their ear to the pulse of the show. So I made sure that the publicity people were happy with me whenever I sent something. And there's a couple shots floating around out there, but they're so schmutzed up that they were not suitable for any kind of magazine or even an online magazine. It was a time when social media was coming on strong with all the internet sleuths being able to figure out stuff based on wardrobe and all that. So I had to be careful.
Well, we actually got a hold of 2 tweets that you tweeted while filming.
Oh, no.
And we want to see if you could shed some light on them.
Okay.
Oh, wow. We've never done this before. This is now
Tweet Peek.
A Tweet Peek.
Yeah.
A new feature we're doing here on the podcast.
So this is from January 18th, 2011. You say, glad I'm prepping. It's not healthy on the set right now. Do you know what that's about?
Uh-oh.
Don't remember that, other than maybe I went down to visit. They had smoked up the stage or something. Because I did make many visits to the set while they were shooting the previous episode, because I wanted to make sure that we had this kind of cool sepia tone look. And so Serge and I talked about it in between me jumping in a van to go scout or whatever. And there's a thing in digital, it's called LUT, which is 3 letters, stands for lookup table. And it's a way to put settings on a camera digitally that you can't really do with film. You do it in post film or with filters, but you're able to set a look on a digital camera and set your LUTs and memorize them and call that, okay, this is the Frontierland look.
Oh, okay.
So I know Serge would take one of the cameras. If only one camera was working, they'd take one off to the side and they'd do a little quick test. And we were looking at them. And so we finally settled on this kind of sepia brown, Western look, for lack of a better term.
Right.
So maybe running down to the set, I can't remember whatever episode they were doing. They were doing something that was either,
smoky,
smoked up or something. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But that was a fun part of that show, is that we wanted to be able to make sure we had control of the look of it, instead of leaving it to a post-production group to say, hey, give us a Western look, because their version of a Western look could be very different than what Serge and I were thinking. Right. So that was cool to be able to set that ahead of time and lock it into the camera.
Right. Well, here's another one. You say, very happy I got to cast a very good friend in my SPN Western episode. He's not only a great guy, he's one hell of an actor. Who was that?
That is definitely Sam Hennings. And Sam played Colt.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
Well, he was somebody that was suggested, and I was like, of course, because I knew Sam back. I did a movie as a camera operator with Corin Nemec in '94 called Drop Zone. And Sam was one of the ensemble cast members. He was part of Wesley Snipes' skydiving team. If you know about that movie. But the other cool thing is Sam's younger brother, David Hennings, is a hell of a cinematographer.
Oh.
And we used to do music videos together when he was like one of the premier Luma crane, which is like the remote crane operators at the time. So I would come on to do a music video as, the young Steadicam punk, and he was the camera operator. And he had told me about his older brother, Sam, the actor, and I never crossed paths with him until '94. But Sam and I kept in touch. So from '94 to 2011, that's like, how long is that? That's 17 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Math not being my strong suit. So Sam and I kept in touch. And so when he was pitched to me as a Colt, I was like, of course. And he was available, and it all worked out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I immediately recognized him. His name didn't come to mind, but I'm like, oh, I've seen this dude in 1,000 things.
Yeah. He was a regular on, what was that thing, Memphis Beat with
oh yeah, man, I worked with him on that. That's where I knew him. I knew him years later, obviously, but yeah,
he's great.
That DJ Qualls is on.
DJ's on it. Jason Lee was the lead, right, on that? I think.
Right.
Memphis Beat. Yeah, Clooney's company produced it. Yeah, so Sam's been around. He's one of those character actors that everybody knows. He was in The Aviator, the Martin Scorsese, Howard Hughes movie. So he's a great guy. We still keep in touch. I get a text from him every now and again going, hey guy, I thought about you today. I saw this. And I love him.
Yeah, he's great. He's really, really solid. Does he come back? Do you know?
No, I mean, there was some talk of it as an origin story, Colt and all that, but obviously never materialized. But Sam would have been up for it big time. So
yeah. What about the Bonanza intro? Did you have a say in that, or was that something that Post came up with? Or
that was a pleasant surprise. I mean, I think we had talked about, wouldn't it be cool to do the old, exactly what you see, and all that stuff is so after we shoot and I'm sort of done my edit and I'm gone, I'm moved on. So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised by that. The other cool thing was there's a stock shot of just a silhouette of the horse.
Yes, right.
Sam's running with the horse. And that's a stock shot, so I never saw that either, which is always
funny.
Good. It worked great, so I was happy about it.
Can you explain for folks what a stock shot is?
Well, it's an image that already exists that are there in libraries, and so either a sunrise, sunset, flower blooming in slow motion, in fast motion or whatever, some kind of transitional shot, not always, or a establishing shot of a building. There's thousands and millions probably of stock shots, and they exist in these libraries. And you basically shop it. Producers probably, Todd Ehrenauer or somebody would have said to one of the stock shot libraries, we're looking for this, and they send them kind of like a watermarked version of it. Say, what do you think of this? And it's, it's $1,000 for 10 seconds or whatever. They buy it.
Yeah.
So that stock shot of man riding horse left to right in silhouette, that was the winner. And I couldn't pick a better one.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What other film and TV shows were influences were you specifically like, hey, I'd like it to look like this or that?
Well, it's funny because right before I got the gig, that I was all hopped up on the Coen Brothers version of True Grit and Black Swan. So it's funny because when I read the first page and this first scene, which is basically a foreshadowing of, or showing Dean coming out and confronting the Phoenix, and that's how it was written. And in my head, I'm like, oh, cool. This is going to be like some dream he wakes up from and like he's fighting himself. And I think I even pitched the idea of maybe we should do a shot where Dean looks at himself and he sees himself. And it really didn't make any sense. It was just the idea that he was like dreaming or, a misdirect for the audience.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't end up doing that because Black Swan had a lot of those kind of themes of the Natalie Portman character, maybe is, the Mila Kunis character, maybe they're the same person. And it's all, oniric and dreamy. And then as I finished the script, I'm like, oh, that wasn't Dean's dream. That really does happen at the end. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I just went through YouTube and found a bunch of images and Google images of, iconic Western imagery, especially like, shootouts at the OK Corral and screen directions and, clock.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's nice is, I mean, that was sort of the early years of that where I would find an image, screen grab it, and then email it or text it to somebody. I didn't want to gum up Serge's inbox, but I might have sent him to Jerry.
Right.
You go through the departments. And so Jerry and his crew, John Marcinak, I mean, everybody on that crew just art-wise just crushed it because that location Bordertown was built for a show called Bordertown, but a ton of those interiors were just completely dilapidated and just downright health hazard. You step right through some of the floorboards. It was so, because there were, if you've ever been to Vancouver, it rains a lot. What? Spoiler alert. That set was on the border almost to Washington in an area city called White Rock.
Oh, okay.
And we spent like 3 or 4 solid days out there. I was actually in a hotel, this nice little small hotel. Serge and I and the boys, a few people got hotels out there because it was a little bit of a hike. It was about an hour drive. And so when you have a 7 a.m. call in the winter where it starts getting dark, you got a ton of work to do. We started as early as we could, but some of the crew had to get up and drive an hour before call.
What a drag!
Yeah, so thank God, they put me in the boys and like I said, like Sarah and a few people out there. And that Bordertown set was falling apart, and we designated that the only way to make the 3 days work was to take some of our normally you would shoot some of these scenes interiors on. They would build these sets on our stages in Burnaby. I think the only one we built was Sam Colt's cabin, the interior of Sam Colt's cabin. Other than that, all those saloon, the police station where they find the deputy sheriff that's packing up to go to his sister's house. That was all like took those locations and built them out. So yeah, hats off to that art department. And we did a lot of night stuff out there as well because, again, it gets dark at about 4 p.m. So it's easy enough to transition into night for some of the scenes, the graveyard, when he bargains for the horse with the watch.
So let me ask you this. What limitations did you find? Because obviously trying to do a Western, it's a big period piece challenge. I mean, was there anything that you were trying to do that you couldn't achieve?
Yeah, I mean, in your head, you have this dusty tumbleweed flowing through this, going through the frame imagery, and we just knew we were going to be up to our ass in mud because it did kind of drizzle and rain.
You could see it. You could see the breath coming out people's face.
Yeah, it was like 36 degrees Fahrenheit and just drizzly. It was January. It was this time of year, 2011. No, the funny thing I remember last night is when the guys land and they look around and, obviously the whole fun comedic part of that whole thing, which Jensen ate up and did such an amazing job was, how excited he was to be there.
Yeah.
Especially like with the wardrobe where he comes in with the shopping bags.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're really in the grid of it all. The other thing is rewatching it last night. There's a part where the guy at the gallows turns to him and goes, "Nice blanket."
Yeah.
And then it's scripted that Dean has to take the serape, the blanket off and throw it down in disgust like a little, like a 7-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Right.
But then it became like, well, do I take the hat off? Does Dean hand it to Sam? Does Sam hold the hat? And if you notice, if you see it, he puts his hand up, he grabs the front of the bill and thing, takes it off.
Yeah.
And a testament to what a skilled, talented person above and beyond all the things we already love about Jensen Ackles. Because he crushed it. It's just like, of course, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Because there was tons of angst. Wardrobe department's looking at me like, what are we going to do? He's got to, and we don't want to add a beat. Anyway.
The hair department had to be having a conniption fit. Because at this point, I don't think fans knew that he was completely bald. And we can say that now, right? We can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hat held it in place.
That's a known fact that he has no actual hair.
Yeah.
Apparently, Back to the Future 2 and 3 references. Was that discussed in prep?
I don't think we did because I think my inspiration and why I like the Serape or whatever was Fistful of Dollars or, it was a Clint Eastwood homage. But yeah, there are some subtle Back to the Future because that's the whole thing with that. The conceit of that part 2 is that, they could go back in time to the West. So why wouldn't we talk about it or Easter egg the hell out of it?
Right.
No, I was thinking there's a scene where after they leave the gallows, they go immediately into the bar. And that's when they see all, it's like not when he's hoping it's going to be awesome. We did some really great long lens shot with maybe a covered wagon. I think we sold the town and the townspeople a little more. When we were back, our camera was on a telephoto lens, and it was a walk and talk and it was supposed to be like an A/B cut where I think Dean, can't remember the exact quote, but Dean says something effective, "Man, this is going to be awesome." And we cut to them and we dolly in and he goes, "This isn't awesome."
Yeah.
So we lose that joke, but he cut stuff out for time. So somewhere in that shot, I think it was just one shot. I think we just had him walk in a little bit close up, take a left and walk through the saloon doors because it was always meant to be a direct cut.
Right.
Did you know did you take it out?
No. They take stuff out for time, and
right.
My whole thing with editing things out is that it crushes me. I hate that we have to cut things out for time, or if it doesn't propel the story along. But if the audience never sees it, you can't miss something you never saw in the first place.
Sure.
Yeah. There's going to be 0.001% of the people in the world, like me and the people that are close to it, and this crew that shot it.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world will never miss it.
It is funny. That's a thing that I know is a bit of a challenge for anybody, actor, director, writer, producer, where you will miss something. But the truth of the matter is people don't know what they didn't see, so they don't miss it.
Yeah. And a lot of times I'll go into those scenes and I'll read it. We'll get ready to shoot it. And I'll kind of look to the script supervisor, or, even the guy that wrote it. I'll say, "I love this scene, but if it doesn't make the cut, it's not going to be the end of the world." But you don't half-ass it. You don't give it 80%. You still shoot the shit out of it and shoot it as if it's going to be there because it might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there's another cut scene where Sam and Dean discuss the name of the bartender, Elkins.
Yeah, I think that's what happens because that's in that long walk and talk.
I see.
And it really sold the depth of it. And we had great crosses and horses.
Oh, wow.
Goats. It was a bummer that got taken out. So the only other thing I could think that got cut was I think at the end of the Colt scene, you never actually see Samuel give him the gun.
Right.
We originally shot that scene. That scene goes on, and there's some other information again, and not enough to impact any storyline from the past or future. But no, that was funny. I got a note from the editor saying, you only have 3 setups in this 4-page scene, and I said, I could shoot wide stuff. I could shoot cool stuff, but the bottom line is when Sam Hennings and Jared ran that scene, I kind of said to Sarah, the script supervisor, I kind of said, and I don't know if Andrew Dabb was up there, but I just kind of said, it'd be an injustice to have all these cutty things. So I think I have a medium shot and a close up, and that's kind of it. I mean, so, producers a lot of times expect a lot of coverage because they want places to go and they want, out, in and outs and ways to trim up a show, because we all know that we only need 42 something minutes of original material, and your cut's gonna come in at 55 minutes.
Right.
So it was interesting that I kind of stuck to my guns. Not like
good pun. Stuck to your guns, huh?
Not in a upset and wanting to fight somebody way, but I was like, it's an injustice to try and cover this and have all these crazy angles when this is the meat of the scene. And these guys are such good actors, and it's expositional dialogue that's important about him not wanting to be part of being a hunter anymore, and the future for Sam potentially of being old burnout drunk in a cabin by himself. Anyway, so that's right. There's somewhere exists an addendum to that scene that's been all a little longer.
I see.
Yeah.
Even as it was, that was a great long scene between the two of them. I thought that was sometimes this show little bits of it look like a movie to me. And that was one of them. You don't normally get to see that long of a scene, in-depth scene between two characters like that, especially not with a new character. And he's such a good actor, like you said. So it really worked.
And, you also, we're talking a lot about the Western part of this show, but you had a whole modern storyline that you were having to cling to, which, by the way, definitely by no fault of yours or the story, is a way in the back seat, because we're really more intrigued by the visuals and story of the Old West. So that had to be a bit of a challenge to keep that thread engaging and alive in there.
Yeah, because the angel that he eventually has to fight with, and I love that crane shot when we came up. That was a visual effect, the wings.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
That was very cinematic. That felt like a movie.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the actress, she was wonderful, because you got to come in to a train on rails going 150 miles an hour, and she's got to get in there and not get run over or,
Yep.
Right.
And that actress was great. God, Sonia, I think it was.
I thought about that.
Phenomenal.
That she really nailed that.
Yeah, she just crushed it and was right in there. Didn't miss a beat. Kind of had to keep that modern storyline about the revolution going on in Cass's world. And but yeah, that was fun. It was like a nice break, because I think we might have shot all her stuff. I'm almost positive we shot all her stuff before we committed to going out to White Rock.
Misha did a great job too of sort of being injured and playing that whole bit.
Yeah, there's a shot I tried, and sometimes, as you know, Richard, you got to sometimes have the balls to say, this isn't working. This is plan B, even if you don't have a plan B. But
yeah,
Jim Beaver's looking at the stopwatch, and we dolly around. He's sitting at the desk, and we keep focus on the foreground. And the idea was that Cass drops almost from the ceiling in the kitchen, boom, and then we cut back to Jim. Jim jumps up. We put real Misha in there, kind of shaking off, getting stabbed.
Right.
I've told this at conventions. Every time we do the shot, we come around. Okay, drop the mannequin, which is literally just an articulated mannequin with Misha Collins' wardrobe on it. Every time we dropped it, it just felt like like for a almost mortally wounded angel. It just didn't work, and I just said, look, we can do this all day, and maybe we'll get one where it falls through. It's gonna, like, guess what, guys? It's gonna play as a sound effect, and Jim's just gonna react and exit. That's gonna be it.
You're smart to know when to cut bait, man.
You got it, especially on the TV schedule where they're coming down and going, okay, you got 4 more hours to do 8 more scenes.
Jesus, yeah.
Right.
Be creative, guy.
Yeah.
We've been there before. We've done it, and we do it. We pull it out somehow or another. It always works.
Yeah.
That was a cool effect too. And after that fight, where Misha reveals the cut, which is a traditional like, oh, I got cut, but his is beaming light
with a light. Yeah,
that was kind of cool.
Is it true that Jensen hurt his hand shooting the showdown on the gun?
Yeah, I think the palm of his hand was raw to the point of bleeding.
Oof.
Those are like real. I mean, it's become a big issue now with like period correct and real functioning 6-shooter guns for obvious reasons in the last few years. But yeah, he definitely. I don't know how bad it was, but definitely was raw to the point of bleeding.
Yikes.
For sure.
That's crazy.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that happy note,
well, that's
no, but the episode plays great, man. It's one that people talk about a lot. That's always used in like clips of the lifetime of Supernatural because of its unique style and everything. So, and you as a especially director early on in the show had a hand in so many
epic episodes,
interesting episodes. But here's a question for you, because you started out so early. Like, I think the first time we interviewed you or talked about a Guy B episode, it was The Asylum, right? And the film look, which was changed dramatically, did you ever yearn for that old look? Because that was such a cool, contrasty, gritty look that I think would have lent itself to the Western better.
Yeah, I mean, again, that analogy of the moving train and all that and getting jumped, and I say as a director, you jump onto a moving train and you blend in and 15 days later, you let the train go and go to post-production. So, it may have been talked about, wouldn't it be cool to shoot this on film, even 16 millimeter, because that's what Walking Dead does or did.
Right.
Because they needed to disguise how, because digital really shows
makeup.
And, sometimes they're making up 100 zombies in a day.
Yeah.
So they're kind of an assembly.
Right.
I think I might have mentioned it, but it's like so it upsets the apple cart so much.
No, I get it. Well, it's a great one, man. It's a classic. And we appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That last shot of when they finally get the ashes delivered to them.
Yeah.
Jensen put the hat back on and look up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just let the camera roll. I mean, it was just one of those things that's not in the script necessarily, but it just looked cool. And I'm so glad that, I don't know. It was probably in my cut and the editors left it in. And I think it's a perfect kind of excellent point to the episode.
Yeah.
I agree. Man looks natural in a hat.
Yeah, the man's a superstar.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this. And, we'll have you back for the next one. But we appreciate you coming in and being a part of this conversation. As always, Guy Norman B.
All right, dudes.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. B.
My pleasure.
It's good to see you, Guy.
Hey there, it's Misha Collins. If you're like me, you want a break from the sound of Richard Spate's voice, we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to the ultimate social deduction game, Blood on the Clock Tower.
The evil team must stalk the streets at night, hunting down members of the good team one by one. Meanwhile, the good team must outmaneuver the evil team using their unique abilities.
I'd like to kick things off by telling you all that I'm possibly the demon.
Our players can mislead and manipulate others with absolute freedom.
I didn't like hearing my name in the same sentence as demon. That was very upsetting for me. Emily and I will be your storytellers, guiding you through every labyrinthian twist and turn.
How are there so many evil players in this game? What's happening?
With guests from No Rolls Barred, the Pandemonium Institute, and Oxventure, you won't be able to stop listening. Go to realmspod.com/clocktower to find out more.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast, Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's only one story. The Only One in the Room has a wide variety of guests, from prisoners to abuse survivors to swingers. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee that Only One in the Room will have a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone.
Thank you for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
Well, what a great conversation we just had with Guy B, Rob Benedict.
He's such a great guy. And as always, whenever we talk to the people that worked on the episode,
suddenly our opinion
I liked it more. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, just for the record, we did not like this episode. We liked it a lot. It just, you're comparing styles and whatnot. I thought it was great. Guy did a great job.
And you made a great point that when they were shooting on film, it just had a grittier look than it did when they were shooting digital.
I just yearned for that on this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing, didn't this feel, you know what this felt more like than Supernatural? And I meant to say this in our earlier review, and I'm not making a joke here. It felt more like an episode of Quantum Leap than Supernatural.
Right, exactly. Yes. Or Fantasy Island or something.
Where they came into a place and they were, you know what I mean? Like it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, in the other things that I was kind of like, and I know we have to let a lot of reality go in Supernatural, but one thing I think the show does really well is it holds on to its own reality well. So we buy the Sam and Dean lore of it all and their tools of the trade. And I just had a hard time believing that Jensen would win a shootout, a standoff like that. Just using a period piece weapon, drawing from a holster against a guy who lives in the Old West and does it all the time.
Right.
It just like a big reach. Whereas they could have come up with some gimmick where he doesn't grab it, but shoots something that's iron that hits the guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Usually they would have stayed in their own reality and found a way to make it make sense that Sam and Dean win, as opposed to going the traditional route.
Yes. But then there's also the theory that, the god of this universe is making it so that Dean and Sam always win.
Well, that's to say, and certainly as audience members, they all want to see Jensen in a. Why can't I think of the term duel? Like, what is that when they're
duel? Yeah, showdown.
So they, everybody wants to see Dean win that.
Yeah,
in a quick draw competition.
Yeah.
So I guess you got to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
And in this case, for us, it's mythology.
All right, let's talk about phoenixes. Phoenix Eye.
I think it's Phenini. Is plural.
Okay. Tell me about phoenixes.
All right.
Phoenixes.
A phoenix is an immortal fiery bird, which sounds like we're being British and talking about the ladies, but we're not. We're talking about an actual bird. The phoenix is an immortal fiery bird that symbolizes cyclical birth, death, and rebirth. It is most commonly associated to Greek myths and Greek mysters. In Greek lore, when the phoenix senses its life nearing its conclusion, it builds a nest of aromatic woods and spices such as myrrh and frankincense. Add a little gold to that, and you can show up at the birth of Jesus.
That's right.
At dawn, the bird ignites the nest, and both it and the nest are consumed by flames. From the ashes, a new phoenix emerges, young and renewed, to begin the cycle anew.
Okay. Besides his name being Finch, which is a bird,
right?
Were there anything about that character that made him phoenixy? Or did I miss something?
He was always dehydrated.
That's what it was. However, it does have parallels in Egyptian myth with Renu, a bird representing creation and renewal, and in China with Fang Huang, a bird embodying harmony and virtue.
I'm sorry, my sound cut out. Could you tell me again what that was in China?
Fang Huang.
Oh, man. Good stuff.
And now it's time for fun facts.
Fun facts! Fun facts! Fun facts! Fun facts.
The title comes from the Old West-themed land within Disneyland called Frontierland.
See, I did not know that until Guy said that in the interview.
Oh, yeah?
That is not a reference I got. So that's why I would have liked Gallows Pole more.
Definitely Gallows Pole would have been a better title, but that nevertheless.
The French title is Les Mystères de l'Ouest, which translates to the Mysteries of the West. That's, of course, in France. And in Japan, the title, which I'm not going to try to read here, but it loosely translates into The Happy Fun Boat That Kills You.
Bobby mentions that the only Star Trek series he's familiar with is Deep Space Nine. Jim Beaver's late wife, Cecily Adams, played the recurring character Ishka on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That's cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad this fun fact came up. I also thought that made no sense. The Dean was a Trekkie. I don't know, man. It also fell into the Dean details. I'm like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, the old Dean, I feel like the old Dean wouldn't know Star Trek so much.
No.
Here's another thing that I'm just now thinking of. There was a moment where Castiel says to Sam something. He's explaining the war, and Jim Beaver says, you're going to have to dumb it down because you're talking to Sam. Sam's the smart college kid.
Yeah, Sam's the brainiac.
Yeah. Like, why would you have to dumb it down for Sam?
I don't know.
And the other thing is, Sam would know what Star Trek is. Dean wouldn't know. I agree with you on that part.
Yeah.
But also, as we mentioned earlier, Jim Beaver mentions we got to get them out of Deadwood and get them back or whatever. And Deadwood is a series that he recurred on.
Oh, that's true. Deadwood is also a real place too, which is,
right,
historical.
But with him saying it.
Yeah, that's extra spice. A dumb question, but this was after Deadwood, right, for Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The gold that, you want to read that one?
Sure. The gold Sam and Dean take to Wyoming is the gold they took from the dragons in Like a Virgin.
What?
There we go.
Wow, well, that's good. A little through line there.
Yeah, I totally forgot that they took any gold from dragons. I forgot about the dragons. I do not recall the episode Like a Virgin. So
no, me neither.
This is a good reminder for me.
I think it was the episode where Mother was created.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yes.
These guys were dragons. Jared Padalecki and the real Samuel Colt were both born on July 19th. Jared, of course, was born in 1982, and Samuel in 1814, and Richard Speight in 1815.
1813. Yeah, man, it was a fun episode of the podcast, a fun episode of the show. Just a
fun episode.
We really held this one to a high standard. We may have been a little more nitpicky than previously on certain episodes, but hey, when you go for these sort of period piece things, you open up a larger discussion, I think.
And like we said, we've got a high bar set with this show because it always exceeds expectations. And so, yeah, I think that's where we're coming from. But
they just got to quit making Dean be a dum-dum.
But we love having Guy Norman B on, and love his work.
Yep.
And love his point of view. And
Indeed.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong. Great crew, great episode.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, we will see you at the next one. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester, Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester, and Misha Collins as a Castiel.
Guest stars include Jim Beaver, Sam Hennings, Matthew John Armstrong, Scott Hylands, Dean Ray, Sonia Saloma, Gordon Michael Wolvett, and Frank C. Turner.
Frontierland was written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin, story by Jackson Stewart, Andrew Dabb, and Daniel Laughlin, and directed by Guy Norman B.
Editing by Tom McQuaid, music by Jay Gruska.
Executive produced by Robert Singer, Sarah Gamble, and Eric Kripke.
The episode featured the following songs by Federale: Reprise, Hero and the Hanging.
I thought the music in this was good too. Fun assignment to make it Wild West, and they did a great job.
Oh, for sure.
The episode originally aired on April 22nd, 2011.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Speight Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
What's up, Booty?
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at SPN Then and Now.
And hey, become a member of the podcast to get early access, chat rooms with other podcast fans, and video interviews at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now.
Fang Huang.
Oh, man.
That's what it's called.
Oof.
Fang Huang. Fang Huang.
It's a good thing it's not an object that's...
when you hear Fang Huang,
something that somebody might be holding and you would walk up and go, sir, that's a Fang Wang you've got there.
A wang with fangs. It's like a vampire's wang. It's a Fang Wang.
Real quick question. Do you think you've ever gotten confused as a family member of our previous guest because he's Guy B and you're Rob B?
Yeah. No, definitely.
Do people think a lot of times?
They think that I'm him.
Because on your family tree, is it like Rob B, Guy B, Aunt B?
Yep, all members of my family.
B. Arthur.
The Arthur's in there.
Arthur Fiedler.
Yep.
Robbie the Feeler.
Yeah, a swarm of bees is up there.
Aren't we glad it didn't fall into some sort of pit? Because then they would be forced to go find the ash hole and dig their hands into the ash hole to see what they
You're an
pull
asshole.
out.
Dean prays to Castiel to arrive.
My favorite part of that was watching Steve Hine just drop his head like, man, out the window goes all the class
he
here.
dropped his head. I was like, we got him.
Story Mill Media.
Legends. Long have legends inspired people the world over. For in legends, we see the worlds of the impossible unfold before us.
Heroic quests, horrific monsters, gods, magic, tales of the valiant and the villainous. But more than that, in legend, we see ourselves reflected in the stories we tell.
I'm William Stark.
And I'm Omar Timsaw.
And we are D&D Legends and Lore. Join us as we explore the fantastic lore of the world's most popular tabletop RPG. Suddenly, a beam of radiant light pierces the haze. Then, a powerful angel streaks down from above. She is pure beauty, fury, and zeal.
Arashni, your sentence has been spoken by the Sildarine. For what you have done, you are declared demon. Be what you are, and go where you must. You can find D&D Legends and Lore on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts can be found.
You should listen to the GamesIndustry.biz microcast.
More people are playing games than ever before. They've never been more popular, and the business behind it is facing some real challenges and changes.
There's been tens of thousands of layoffs, hundreds of studio closures as major companies face rising costs and falling sales.
There's uncertainty around the future of game consoles.
There's legal and government intervention into how games are even being paid for.
The role of AI is changing how games are being made.
There's the impact of games like Fortnite and Roblox dominating everyone's time.
And then there's the desperate wait for Switch 2 and GTA 6, and that's just 2024.
Two leading business journalists with a combined 35 years of experience offer you a weekly guide through all of this and more.
I'm Christopher Dring, head of GamesIndustry.biz.
I'm James Batchelor, editor-in-chief of GamesIndustry.biz, and you can join us every Monday for the GamesIndustry.biz microcast.
The most important stories,
expert guests,
exclusive market data,
and all in less than 30 minutes.
Usually.
The GamesIndustry.biz microcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.